What type of leadership challenges do you experience in Vodacom?
Well, I think your biggest leadership challenge is always making sure that you have the right people in the team, and we're fortunate that we have a lot of very good people at Vodacom, and but I'd say it's always making sure that you have the right talent to take the company forward.
What are some of your personal philosophies that is quite in line with your everyday work at Vodacom?
Well, the first one is there's no substitute for hard work. So I think to succeed, you've got to put in the time. I think the part is that you've got to lead from the front. So and really put in the effort as well, because I think people emulate what they see. The next part is really making sure that everyone has clear objectives and everybody knows what's expected of them. So I put a lot of emphasis in making sure that we set the right objectives for the team, and that we set big goals for ourselves. And I think what's fundamental is people rise up and make sure that they can achieve it, but they need something to rise up to. So you have to set a big goal. And in a company like Vodacom, I think we're blessed from that perspective, that once we set a big, hairy, audacious goal, the company rises up and achieves it. So the other thing is, I think a spirit of teamwork, and really a spirit of wanting to succeed. I say the most important ingredient in people is passion, and that's what I look for when I recruit people. Is really, do they come? Is there passion in their belly? Do they come to work with passion? Because I think everything else you can teach, but are you passionate about what you do? I think is the most important ingredient in people.
Well, talking about passion, your passion came from selling samosas to perfume to mobile technologies. Where is the connection, or what? Just define your passion for this industry.
Well, I think firstly, from young, it was a passion to succeed. And really, I don't tell many people this, but when I was very young, I had this teacher who was a fortune teller, and she said to me, you can achieve anything you want in life. You just got to set your mind to it, and that became my motto. And I honestly believe I can achieve anything in life as long as I set my mind to it. But I think it's that want and that need to succeed, and really that drive. A failure wasn't an option. It was just making sure that you have that drive, that passion in what you do. Really, cell phones was really an opportunity. I started in finance in cell phones, but I always had the passion of wanting to do more. And I always say to people, if you're given X, why do X, Y, and Z? And I think that's important. So expand your role. Push the boundaries, grow the potential of what that role is, and that's what I did in Vodacom, and that's why I managed to succeed at a very young age. And at the age of 26, I was managing director already. So, but it was that drive and that passion, that taking on more, trying to be bold, push the boundaries, and really build it. If someone asks you to do X, build it much wider than what anyone envisaged. That's how you get to succeed. Is you get to succeed by making sure that people can't ignore you because of what you've achieved, and that they can only but recognize the result.
Shameel, you changed your family home into an orphanage, is that correct?
Yes.
Can you give me a little bit more information about why your family home, and what is your vision with this orphanage?
Well, it was really to give back to society, and and really to do something really useful with the house. So I bought my mum and dad a new place, and effectively took the old house and converted it into an orphanage with the vision that I'd like to do something for kids. And I think kids are young, are very innocent and so on. And it just, to be honest, just breaks my heart to see children abandoned and children, orphan kids and so on, homeless and so on. And so this provided a nice opportunity. There was a lot of love in the home we grew up in. And it was just, you know, selling it just didn't feel like the right thing to do. It was more saying, look, you know, let's use it to give back to society.
What will we see happen in the next 10 years regarding mobile technology?
So I think there's obviously a lot that's going to come. I think firstly the whole data explosion, if you think about what 16, you know, some cards means and so on. So I think we can expect to have a lot more connected devices as we go forward, and that telecommunication starts to be used for many different things. For instance, to give an example, health. I mean, they were showing us at Oxford University this a few years ago where they were saying, you know, you'll be able to swallow a chip. It will monitor all your vitals, communicate back to the phone, and advise your doctor when you're sick. You know, so those type of things. I also think what you'll find is that with LTE, or 4G as we like to call it, that the speeds that you can achieve things is a lot faster. So expect to see people, you know, viewing things more on iPads and so on. So I think you know, the need and the demand on watching TV on demand or video on demand will change. So people's behavior will change quite considerably. So I think, you know, these type of things just mean that we're going to need a lot more bandwidth, and we're going to need bigger pipes to be able to control the traffic. From, you know, from the technology evolving itself, I think, you know, I've already seen some of the manufacturers displaying that phones will become paper thin, but also that they were already looking at bendable, you know, bendable phones and so on. So you'll be able to put your phone around your wrist, you know, type of thing. But also you'll be able to fold out your iPad into a bigger screen, you know, and your tablet. So, and with this very thin bendable technology, also when you look at the phone, it becomes so paper thin that you won't necessarily see sides on the phone anymore. So, you know, I think that's evolving. But also the way it's becoming part of our lives. So, you know, just looking at some of the new devices that have come out, where you're starting to, you know, I'm using this new Samsung S4. And, you know, one of the things that are built in there, for instance, is how you track your life. The number of steps you take per day, scanning your food, you know, measuring the calories. So, you know, I think cell phones will become very much more integrated into our daily lives.
The Vodafone CEO said everything the company does in emerging markets is driven by two overriding aims: to empower people who want to better themselves and to create profitable new income streams. How would Vodacom do this in South Africa?
Well, I think so we're doing it in Africa, but we're also doing it in South Africa as well. And I think, you know, one of the things that we're doing is to make sure that we're giving people, so prepaid, and the fact that we launched prepaid. So remember, prepaid was a South African innovation created for the world, more importantly created by Vodacom, you know. And was really born from the need of saying, how do we make it possible for every person to have access to telecommunications? How do we democratize telecommunications? And now we've taken on a similar goal, which is to say, how do we democratize data? And how do we make it possible for every single person in this country to have broadband access in his home? And that for us is extremely important. So that's how we see us being able to empower people. Give them access to telecommunications, because there's a close link to GDP growth and access to communications, and now give them access to broadband communications, because as you do that, you'll be able to further help grow GDP growth in the country.
All right.
And I think, you know, it's so important for us to that end to align ourselves with government in every country that we operate. Look at what government's objectives are and help them to be able to deliver it. So we believe, I mean, a clear goal for us is broadband access in every home by 2020. We think we can do it a couple of years earlier, but obviously one of the most important ingredients for us is spectrum. But we're not waiting. We started 4 years ago. We started building out the networks, and we've made extensive progress in terms of readying our networks for 4G. So once we've got spectrum, we can almost overnight have a much bigger reach than where we are today, and cover most of the country almost immediately, and then expand it to the rest of the country.
What is your biggest or your most significant contribution you made to Vodacom?
Wow, I'd like to think a lot, actually. Having, firstly having set up the whole commercial side and running the service providers and turning it around and making it successful. And then, year after year being able to deliver on the objectives. Also, when I took over the entire South African entity, and within a year of taking over, we doubled the base. So I think really the biggest significant contribution that I like to believe is really, one is helping to make sure that more people had access to communications, and that's something I feel proud of. But also the role that I've played in the foundation, having reported to me for many, many years, and being able to give back society is probably, part of the parts that I'm most excited about, besides delivering the budgets and so on. But also, I think creating employment, and really, helping to grow Vodacom and create employment, and really create a healthy and happy team.